everybody, welcome to GeekStorm. I'm Shawn Hilton. I'm one of your hosts, and today with me is our scab host, because the other two are on strike until they get a better living wage. Mike Dukes is here. We're going to talk about some amazing things for the Halloween season to kind of make things go a little livelier, including, I believe, your all-time favorite RPG, very near and dear to my heart. In fact, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu, I believe, probably the oldest horror continuing RPG.
It was the first horror role-playing game.
So amazing. So for those of you, this is like super geek stuff now. We're no movie review right this second, even though you saw a movie. Not talking about a comic write-off. We're going straight into gaming, and not just board games, not Monopoly, none of that stuff you're gonna find at Walmart. Actual hardcore role-playing horror stylings, originally written by Sandy
Pearson.
Sandy, have you met him?
I've not.
I don't think I've got to meet Sandy. I know people who have. I've had signed editions, but the man created the game, so thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. He was at Gen Con, but he was at the Chaosium booth, but he was promoting Cthulhu Wars. It's
yeah. It's another World War II, right?
No, it's miniatures based.
Oh, miniatures based. All right, because we've got. And that's the other thing. Call of Cthulhu is an RPG where you are playing investigators who are looking into ghostly spirits, of course, the Cthulhu mythos, but to also liven up monsters and it's kind of X-Files before the X-Files existed, except
very much
in the 20s and 30s. Now, the game itself moves itself to anywhere you want. If you want to do 1800s Gaslight Sherlock Holmes, you can play it. If you want to do a traditional 1920s, 1930s gangsters and malls and speakeasies, you can do it. And if you want to move it all the way up to 2014, you can do it. I find that the game typically gets easier the more technology we throw at it, but the horror remains the same. It's kind of like if we were going up against Dracula and, the original Bram Stoker's, and we took in a group of guys today. He is still an incredibly horrific figure, but with a cell phone and a laptop and all the other devices we can come up with, it'd be pretty impressive. So, what is your first venture into Call of Cthulhu?
My first venture?
When did you first get the bug?
I was actually playing an entirely different role-playing game. It's called Blood Shadows.
Okay.
I'd gone to a game store in Indianapolis to see if they had anything new for that.
For Blood Shadows.
And I got to talking to the lady who worked there, and she's like, "Have you tried Call of Cthulhu?"
It's like a gateway drug.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit first.
Here's our pamphlet. Have you tried it?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine had bought me a book of Lovecraft stories like a year or two earlier.
Okay.
I fell in love with them. And then I made the connection. I bought the book. And the thing that struck me was at the time, a lot of role-playing games were not very detail-oriented. They kind of glossed over a lot of things, whereas Cthulhu, like you said, you're investigators, so it really delved into the tiny little details of each and every little thing. And plus, you played an everyman. You weren't playing some superhero or action hero. You were playing...
You're playing blood and guts and a guy that very easily, one bullet could take out your character.
Yeah.
Now, I find that in my gaming experience with it, it's 2 to 3 bullets usually, but one really makes you really quickly think about what's about to happen. Whereas in D&D, it's like sword hit, dagger thrust, backstab, fireball. I'm looking a little rough now.
Yeah.
Hit, and in this, it's like, I stabbed you with my dagger. I'm about to die.
Yeah.
Tapping out. I'm going to need some love here.
And then it was also the real world aspect of D&D. You can go massacre an entire village and get away with it. No one's going to. And here you do something, you break the law, there's a good chance the cops will track you down, throw you in jail,
and you will rot forever.
And then the other aspect is the whole sanity mechanic. You don't just have to worry about physical damage you may take. There's mind-blowing entities that you could encounter, and you could lose your sanity.
Little by little, your mind is eroding in the game.
Yeah.
Your health might take a hit, but when your mind takes a hit and it starts to unhinge and your character starts to lose it, it gets ugly really, really quick. And
that makes for some awesome role-playing opportunities, though.
Yes, it does. I've played it a long time. I think I started playing in 92, 93. I was a latecomer to it. Somebody gave me some Lovecraftian stories, and I mean, and this is how intense this guy was. He had photocopied. He wouldn't loan me the books. He had photocopied the story, so I'm reading stapled together pieces. But I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And then I realized it's like I didn't read I didn't read Howard Phillips Lovecraft until I said 92, 93, but it was then I'd realized that some of my favorite stories had actually been I'd read years before that when I was a kid, because Stephen King's, I want to say Night Shift, the very first story in it, and I could be wrong about which of these collections it is, but it was one of his early collections. Stephen King had written a story called Jerusalem's Lot. And,
Salem's Lot, yeah.
yeah, and Jerusalem's Lot is a Call of Cthulhu story. It's flat out follows the same H.P. Lovecraft themes. It has the same style. It has the same texture. It's his homage to Lovecraft.
I never even made that connection, but yeah, you're right.
And so that's when I realized, I'm like, well, I love his work, but I loved it a long time ago when I saw somebody else do, Stephen King doing a pastiche, but still his version of a Lovecraft story, and that's what and he'd done one or two of them. I know Jerusalem's Lot is definitely one. I want to say there's another one, and I've read a couple of others that were similar in the stylings of H.P. Lovecraft, not even knowing who he was. So it's the Lovecraft, the gloss is what makes this, what it is. And the truth is you're fighting against horrible things. But one of the things I think makes Call of Cthulhu so cool is the investigation aspect. This isn't the game where you just walk into the bar and you kill the bad guys, you rough them up until they give you the information. You have to use deductive logic and reasoning to really get through this game. I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan as well. One of the favorite things about movies and books for me, drives all my friends crazy, my enjoyment comes from trying to figure out the ending before we get there.
Yep.
And they just freak out about it. But as a guy who runs Call of Cthulhu, that kind of thing works hand in hand. If you're going to create a new Cthulhu adventure, you have to create a mystery. That means you have to basically work backwards from what the actual element that set things off was. And in it, I find 3 to 4 investigators is really good. Once I get past 4, it can get a little wonky. You can do 5, but I don't know. So it's been around, 30 years now?
This came out in 1981.
81, wow. So I was 9 years old when this first came out. And definitely is significantly affected, influenced my life. I mean, I know you've done some writing for other companies. I've done a little bit of writing for RPGs, and I know for a fact, at least for me, it comes from this. My biggest break came when I got to Exile Games, allowed me to start working with being kind of their GM for Gen Con and then writing some stuff for that. And I got to do a few other little things here and there. And when I went to, I bought their book by accident. I wanted to run a Call of Cthulhu game with more action in it. Because in Call of Cthulhu, as we were saying, the fighting is so horrifically dangerous that you're gonna die. So I wanted to add like that pulp element of blasting away at the bad guys. And in Call of Cthulhu, it's little victories that matter. It's not the grand victory of winning and saving the world and having it all, it's gonna be all rainbows and lollipops. That doesn't usually happen ever.
No,
so I decided after all my years of playing, it was time to have that. I was like, I want guys that are actually gonna be able to defeat some of the monstrosities and walk away intact. And that's when I came up with another game. So it led me down another path. And I haven't been as active with Call of Cthulhu since then.
I'm a collector. It started, I bought the game, read through it, cover to cover, loved it. We didn't actually play it, I think, for 6 years.
Wow.
After I got it. But I kept buying stuff. So by the time we did finally started playing, I had stacks of books.
Same way. I mean, I played it much sooner. I bought it with maybe 6 or 7 months and then played it. But a collector as well. The production quality from Chaosium's original lines were amazing. Yeah. Absolutely mind-blowing production quality, great attention to detail. And I think probably what you're telling me, the same thing I did, they were just good to read.
Yeah.
They weren't even stories. They were like stories in the format of a screenplay almost. Mm-hmm. And, I would just read them. I'm like, I just want to read these. So it sucked when somebody finally was like, hey, do you want to play Call of Cthulhu? I'm like, I would love to play some Call of Cthulhu. Hey, I'm going to run this module. I've read it.
Yeah.
I'm going to run this module. I've run it, read it, and rewrote it. It's like, so it was really tough. But, yeah, it's an amazing game.
But I rarely get to play any games when I go to conventions like Gen Con. But if I do, this is what I always go for, and I've never, ever been disappointed.
I've been disappointed once. I actually flew over to Rhode Island
Really?
Necronomicon in like '93.
I've always wanted to go to that.
So went there, and they had guys who had written the stuff. And I'm still pretty young at this point. I don't think I could legally drink. If I could, I was really close. I was like 21, right in that area. I was still pretty young guy. I hadn't run a whole lot. And so I'm like, all right, we go to this thing. Now, this is a convention where they celebrate the life of Lovecraft. They take you on a tour to his gravesite. They take you on a walking tour of the town. Brian Lumley was one of the guests of honor that year. All that. I spent most of my entire time doing nothing but playing Call of Cthulhu from like 9 in the morning till about 1 in the morning. And just played the entire time with everybody I could. And loved it. Got to play with great GMs, but I had one game that to this day, this GM, you go out, you do the classic, you're investigating. Hey, I inherited a cabin, but I can't make it out this weekend. Can you and a couple of the buddies go out, enjoy it, do some hunting, doing some fishing, and while you're there, just sort through some of the papers for me. I'll meet you on Sunday. All right, that's your hook. We're gonna go out there, something creepy is gonna happen. We get out there and people are just flat out losing their minds. People are going insane. And as you know, it's about investigation. So I am breaking it down into all the elements that I know as a younger person at that time, but from the stories I've read of Lovecraft, the stories I've read of Sherlock Holmes, having read several adventures, this is an original adventure, I'm trying to break down the logic and figure out where the horrible thing is coming from. Nothing makes any sense. So I decided finally, about an hour and a half into a 4-hour game, my character's gonna go sit in the truck. People by this point are like trying to kill each other, they're losing their minds, they're having hallucinations, and nothing adds up. So towards the end of the game, and I've sat in the car in character for like, the entire rest of this game, the house explodes or something happens, and one guy, and I've told them all, I'm like, I'm gonna stay in this car until the morning. And in the morning, I'm gonna turn the keys in the ignition and I'm leaving. You guys can walk out, you can find another way. The guy's supposed to be up here on Sunday, but I'm not sticking around. So the climax of the game is one guy like all bloody and burnt, his black scalded face. Like, let me in. I open the door, he gets in, we take off. We get down the road, we're tooling around, we see our buddy coming. We get out to warn him, everybody's dead, horrible things have happened. He goes, well, that experiment didn't go very well. I'd laced all of the papers with this new hallucinogenic thing to see how it would react. So I then lay out this guy. I just blow him away, pump the entire gun into him, because everybody's dead. He's killed all my friends. And then the GM has the audacity to look at me like I'm like this horrible, evil thing that why would you possibly do that? And I'm like, why would you possibly run this horrible pile of crap? If you happen to be watching and you're the GM that ran this back in like 92, 93 at Necronomicon, do me a favor, stop. I hope that you stopped writing that day. I hope but if you didn't and you've inflicted this horrible trash on other people, I hope you burn in a fiery pit of Lovecraftian hells, even though he didn't really believe in any of that. But I still hope it happens. So that's my bad Lovecraft game story. What else you got? Man, it's Halloween, so by the time this airs, I believe we're going to be pretty much knee-deep in it.
Pretty much.
Some great haunted houses going on. We got Twisted Darkness.
Have you ever been to Twisted Darkness?
I went last year. It was a lot of fun. I went with a couple of friends. Being centrally located in Kokomo, you're not going out to some weird cornfield where your truck's going to get bogged down in some soft ground or mud or crap, or it's super cold. You're right here, like in the middle of Kokomo, very safe area. Everybody knows where it's at. You can park. It takes a couple minutes to get through. And last year they had a little story. I think this year they have a story that goes along with it. So yes, it's lots of little scares and weird stuff going on, but they set it up in the very beginning with a really nice, cool, like, here's why this is happening. And so, yeah, last year was a lot of fun. It was like some weird family and water that had been infused with craziness, and everybody had drank the water. So throughout the whole thing, occasionally water would start dripping from different places, and you were supposed to avoid it. But a lot of fun, So good date thing, younger person. Take the family and the kids, and it's got a good creep factor.
So it's good for kids, though?
I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong, well-adjusted children that can handle a fright, because it is got elements that are pretty scary. It's not, I don't know, Friday the 13th where people are walking out bloody and dead, but I think, there's going to be some jump points. So
I had a guy ask me yesterday if I thought it would be okay for his daughter. I've never been there, so
okay.
I really couldn't offer any
Is this
advice.
Tom?
Yes.
No, it's not good for her.
Okay.
Sorry, Tom, don't take her. I think she's still probably a little too young. I think
now
she's
you know.
I think she's 7, maybe younger than that.
7 or 8.
So, she's at the cusp. I mean, he knows if she's watching horror movies and isn't like being afraid already of stuff like that. If she can watch The Walking Dead all the way through without grimacing when somebody puts a needle in someone's eye, she's gonna be fine.
Well, he said he had taken her somewhere, and it did scare her. But then once it was over, she immediately wanted to go right back in.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's fun. I don't know. It's one of those things where they have chicken exits in a couple of areas.
That's
so,
a good idea.
You know what? Try it out. Take her in, and if things don't work out, hit the exit and get her out of there. My wife had to use one. There was an area where you have to go through like two foam, I don't know, blown up giant balloon things through a big hallway. So you can't see anything from you, and it's like claustrophobic.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't necessarily she doesn't like that claustrophobia thing, not the fear thing. So you're like walking through something that you're being pressed against the entire time, like Jello or something, and she was not having that. So, and she'd said up front, like before we go in, you need to know if there's going to be a claustrophobic situation. She goes, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, all right. So she went through on that, and it was all good, but a lot of fun. So Twisted Darkness in Kokomo, well worth seeing, and it's just a good time.
Don't we have a zombie walk on First
Friday? Well, April's not here to do her public announcements.
I'm trying to do her justice because I know she'll be like, I forgot this.
So we do. Man, this is going to be, I think, for geeks, the best First Friday ever. First Fridays are great. We have a lot of fun stuff, but this particular First Friday is a geek-inspired zombie walk, and it's going to be people dressing up as zombies, shambling through the streets, along the sidewalks, and there's a route that they'll follow. A great opportunity to get amazing pictures of horrific monsters and stuff. A great chance to see some cool makeup and effects. And then come on, what excuse do you need to wear a zombie costume? So that's going on. My store, Comics Cubed, everybody, is going to host the director, writer, and a bunch of the crew from the Drifting horror movie that Ian Hoagland's filmed through Distilled Productions. So they'll be in site, and they'll be doing a meet and greet. So horror movie is going to be covered, zombie walk's going to be covered, and then right here at Pepper Whistle, where we film GeekStorm, they're having a zombie prom. So you get to come in, dress up like you're going to the prom, but you've been bitten by a zombie, so you're infected. So you get to put on the tux or the dress, you get to do up your hair, you get to do all the nonsense, and then paint yourself up like a zombie on top of it. And then come in and dance the night away to Michael Jackson's Thriller or whatever, and have a good time. It'll be fun. Huh. They're going to do that, I believe, too. Dance Elite, which is a Kokomo dance teaching instructor, is actually going to be, I think it's in front of the courthouse somewhere during the zombie walk, and they're going to do 3 performances of the Thriller dance in costume. And I've seen it before. They do an amazing job. It's really well put together. They work really hard on it, and it looks awesome. So Dance Elite, we'll give a little love out to them. There's some history. But I'm going to put that, history or not, if you do something well, I'm going to call you on it, and they do it really, really well.
Cool.
So that's something else that's going on. We've got a hum from people drilling 2 trees down that's going to be picked up throughout this entire thing, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And I'm sure there's other people doing cool stuff, but that's the really cool stuff. So, also in downtown news, geek-related, Kokomo Toys is going to be moving into the Area 5 building, I believe, a little after January.
Really?
So you're going to have Comics Cubed, A Lawyer, Goblin Games, and then Kokomo Toys.
That's awesome.
So Geek Street is well on its way, and we have legal representation because we start stuff on occasion. So
I love that store. So having it close by would be perfect for me.
it's bad for me. It's bad for me. So
Why is it bad?
I just need to put my money in a safe before I walk in every day. Because I like to say hi to all my neighbors. I walk in, hey guys, what's the sale for the day, and talk. But if I walk into Kokomo Toys every day, it's gonna be, hey, what is that a Jawa? Right there. Is that? The next day, hey, is that a zombie toy? It's just gonna be me doing nothing but taking my cash register over and giving it to them. Like, here's everything I made for the day. So I need that to be reciprocated a little bit. Is that a G.I. Joe comic you got, Shawn? It is.
I do have to be very careful when I walk in there because I'll see stuff from like my childhood, and that nostalgia starts pulling at me.
It's crazy. And I'm not a hoarder by any stretch of the imagination, but I am a collector. Like, I have no problem selling anything I own. If I bought it at next door for $5 and walked in going, hey, you want to see this? You go, I'll give you 20 for it. You're going to own it. Every time. That's how I run. I'm like, I'm good with that. I can accept that. But I want to own it. I want to play with that. I want to. It's the coolest
I
thing
have
ever.
far too many toys.
Oh man, I don't have enough room for them all. Anthony, you got any cool toys from your childhood?
I got Lincoln Logs.
Lincoln Logs.
Huh? Easy. Not a
And the Light Bright, original Light Bright.
original Light Bright's kind of cool.
An original?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you poke all the papers already? That's not worth nothing, though. He ruined that. What were you thinking? Playing with your toys. Who does?
Leave them in the box, man.
Yeah. And then come sell them to me or Kokomo Toys. That's why I was late today, actually, to get to the taping. I was walking, no joke, out the door, had my cup, had my keys in. Oh, you guys aren't open yet. No. Big box of stuff. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be a little late, and they're going to be mad at me, but what do you got there? So, bought a bunch of first edition D&D stuff, some old...
Man, don't tell me that, because you know I'm going to be over there.
Unearthed Arcana, deities and demigods, a couple other things. Tons of fanzines. Never see fanzines. Fanzines never get brought in. They get thrown away, they get chucked. Bunch of old fanzines came in the door. A whole run of Doctor Strange comics, different Doctor Strange stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be fun.
The original deities and demigods that had Cthulhu
It is
in it?
not no.
Okay.
It is the reprint. I own one of those personally, but this one was not one of those. But in really nice shape anyway, and still, I mean, it's what, a 30-year-old book at this point,
Yeah.
regardless of being that. So, good stuff there. TV, where are we at, Anthony? Where are we on time?
About 20.
20? How often? What's our time on this kind of stuff?
About 30 minutes.
Oh, we got a couple minutes then. So you were talking to me about some Arrow stuff.
Oh, yeah. This past episode of Arrow, things got pretty interesting. If you've been keeping up in the geek news, it's been announced that The Flash will debut. Barry Allen will debut in the show and become The Flash in the show, and hopefully spin off into his own Flash TV series.
It'd be cool.
So that we knew about, and then also Black Canary has now made an appearance. But on top of Black Canary, they threw in just a little bit more DC goodness, because now you find out why Malcolm Merlyn knew how to do the things he knew how to do. Why
Seemed a little out of the ordinary that this businessman knew archery, I don't know what form of martial art it was, but he knew some combat training stuff was going on there.
quite formidable for a businessman.
Yeah, for the CEO of, I was impressed. I'm like, wow, he's kind of a badass.
Well, this time you see another individual dressed in the same outfit show up to talk to Black Canary, and the connection is it's the League of Shadows.
Oh, wow, okay.
She's a former member, and then this guy tells her, Ra's al Ghul wants you to return. So we get the entire,
That's like chills
got
right
some
there.
chills going on.
I love that. The League of Assassins, man. You know who created League of Assassins?
Who's that?
Denny O'Neil.
And why does that name sound familiar to me?
Legendary comic creator. Absolutely amazing creator. He is the gentleman that created Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul. He also is the man behind the Hard Traveling Heroes, which made Green Arrow so incredibly popular, changed up his attitude. Arrow really, owes everything it's got pretty much to Denny O'Neil set it in motion. Definitely not the same kind of character, but a lot of the elements are there.
You know what would be awesome? If you could get him at KokomoCon next year.
That would be awesome. I'm going to work on it. I won't say live that we've already done it and it's going to happen. It did. But it'll be a big announcement coming soon. I'm really excited because he is somebody that has, it's one of those things you don't want to say it too often that, hey, you're one of the reasons I own a store. But, there's several people in my life who are the reasons I own a comic book store. And this guy's work is definitely one of them. He's to me is a legendary, amazing figure. Speaking of another legendary, amazing figure in the world of comics, Chuck Dixon just released on Kindle, or e-reader, I suppose. It was called, I believe, Bad Times. Let me do a little quick here. It's called Bad Times, Cannibal Gold. And the idea is that a group of Army Ranger Special Forces guys are contacted by a strange science group out in the middle of the desert and like, hey, we want to hire you, give you all this kind of money, crazy high-tech stuff, and we just need you to go out in the middle of the Arizona desert for us. That's it. Money up front for half of it, great deal, tons of cash, not expected to have any contact with anybody else in the middle of America. Well, it turns out it's a time travel experiment, and they've lost a couple of guys. And they go through this thing, and of course, you know, they're doing the whole time travel thing. So Chuck's done really this cool thing where, you know, you're trying to leave 0 impact. So they're given special guns, because you can't leave shells back in the, you know, whatever time period. They've got special weird clothing that everything has to basically degrade into nothing. So they go in expecting to find a couple of lost scientists and whatnot, and they're hit by basically a version of Edgar Rice Burroughs' The People That Time Forgot. And instead of having 0 enemies to face, it is just horde upon horde upon horde of cannibals. And they are coming at them, and it's tight. It's really good. It is really Edgar Rice Burroughs' action of The People That Time Forgot mixed in with like badass Delta Force.
That's a good combination.
It's a fun read too. It's just really well put together. And it's one of those things. Kindle, I find that a lot of the original Kindle stuff is around 150 pages or so. It's like a novel light or novelette maybe. This definitely felt like that. It's like $2.99.
Can't beat that.
So for it, you're going to be highly entertained. This is the kind of book that you went to the old bookstore, and I don't know anybody that actually read this, but like The Executioner, like 1 through 300, The Destroyer, Mac Bullen, you know, all these kind of like the manly books of, you know, it was like action therapy for the guy who has to put up his wife who has the Harlequin collection. It's like, well, she's harlequining out. You've got your... So this felt like the modern day version for geeks almost of that kind of stuff. So you get the guy, Chuck Dixon, very famous DC and Marvel writer. Guys wrote The Punisher. Guys wrote the Batman. Guy created Bane, created Stephanie Brown the Spoiler. Guy knows his way around some action, okay? Hardcore Alien Legion. He just boot to the face kind of writer. You know what? If you want mid-Victorian blah blah blah, Chuck Dixon is not the guy to call. If you want grenades exploding everywhere, death destruction, military lingo, badass raids, Chuck Dixon's the guy you call. And when you've got to deal with a bunch of cannibals, Bad Times, Cannibal Gold, perfect. So highly recommend it. $2.99. You know, I'd give you a money back guarantee, but it's not my money. So definitely recommend that.
Sounds pretty darn awesome.
I think that's about all the time we got today, according to Anthony, who's telling us to wrap it up. Hey, Anthony, tell us to wrap it up. All right.
Wait. Is that the wrap it up symbol, or is that the helicopter taking off symbol? And that was a
He was doing the
cowboy
Tonto.
dance. That was a... Is that what that is?
I think so.
That
So
seems...
Chuck Dixon does not do the Tonto.
That seems
Neither
unmanly.
does Denny O'Neil.
It's not very manly.
So, but he looked good doing it.
Oh, all right.
I'm Shawn Hilton, your host of GeekStorm today. We're glad we got to talk to you about Call of Cthulhu, Arrow, and of course, the amazing Cannibal Gold. Cannibal Gold. This is my co-host, Scab, in the chair for Mike Harrison and April Thatcher, live at Pepper Whistle in the heart of downtown Kokomo. Check out Comics Cubed. We will see you next time.